What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Rollup. Very special guest today. We have Sadaf, the Director of Marketing at ENS Labs. Sadaf, am I pronouncing that
Sadaf.
correctly? Sadaf.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And yeah, this is like a special episode, I think, for us at the Rollup, because we are very aligned with the public good space. We are a public good for educational content. And oftentimes I like to say that when I'm learning, it provides the most thoughtful and valuable content for our audience that's learning on the other side of the screen. So very thankful to have you on the channel today, and also been tracking ENS for quite a long time. I think probably since the origin. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of dig into ENS. Talk a little bit more about what your day-to-day looks like and how you contribute to the collective. And then also like kind of like the future and like where you guys are at now and where you're going. So again, thanks for coming on, and yeah, let's dive in. So maybe for anyone who is a little bit new, I think our audience and our community is quite familiar with ENS, but Ethereum Name Service. Could you kind of like talk about like what is ENS at a high level?
Yeah, absolutely. So ENS, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. So ENS, I'm really excited to be here because we are working on kind of improving the space from the ground up. So ENS in its simplest form is a way to change your hash, your 42 character long wallet address, to a human readable name. So for instance, mine, as you can see on my hat, is sadaf.eth. That is a name that I registered from the ENS registrar. And we operate in multiple different levels. So I work for ENS Labs. We kind of handle all of the tech side of things, but we also are permissionless. We are completely decentralized, which means that we run and operate things through DAO. So decentralized autonomous organization, for those that might not know. So the way that our registrar kind of works is that we allow all of the registration money that comes through to go directly to the DAO, 100% of it. And then that funds things like other public goods projects, anything that we might be doing within the ecosystem, ENS Labs expenses, and things of that sort. But yeah, in its like simplest form, it's a Web3 identity. It's completely decentralized. It's permissionless. You own it. You can build on top of it. You can also create decentralized websites, etc.
I love it. And it's part of like meeting users where they are. Like we talk a lot about onboarding, like just the normies, not in a derogative term, but like just trying to bring blockchain to a level where it's easily consumable and understood by just normal everyday users. And part of that means abstracting away this long hexadecimal type string of characters into something that's not only like readable, but also like friendly. Like I think it's almost akin to like an email address. And it's really cool to start seeing like applications of blockchain go beyond the financial. So it started out like, maybe if it was just a financial use case, it would be like a Venmo or a Cash App username. But I think it really goes into like the idea of cross-chain messaging and an email address, because we're starting to see some applications go beyond the financial use cases. So I'm curious, like what your experience it has been at ENS.
I'm sorry, you froze for a minute there.
Oh no, I apologize. I was kind of getting into the question about like any kind of communities that you've seen start to like appear that are non-financial and utilize ENS usernames.
Oh yeah, I mean, plenty of them. Okay, so this is a really fun topic, and I kind of want to like touch on some of the other stuff that you talked about as well. So the non-financial use case of things is really extraordinary in this space because, ENS specifically allows people to continue building on top of it. It's all open source, which means that people can, take it and utilize it however they want. They can twist it, they can turn it, they can kind of create their own genre of building on top of this really incredible protocol. So, I mean, as far as like, what have we seen come from the ecosystem or the community as far as development with the ENS protocol goes, there's a plethora of them. One thing that I really like that you mentioned just recently, kind of alluding to the concept of like messaging with ENS, or kind of comparing it to like an email address, is that you do get that personalized feeling of being able to communicate with other people through Web3, which can oftentimes be really difficult. So right now we're working, for instance, with a company called XMTP. So XMTP was recently integrated into Coinbase Wallet, and you can actually use your ENS name to message anyone. So anyone with an ENS name can receive it, and not only through Coinbase Wallet, but because ENS is interoperable, you can actually receive it on any other platform that has XMTP as well. So Converse app, for instance, and so many others. So it's kind of bridging this idea of, a very large community together and being able to create your own kind of inner communities and inner pockets in between. So I think that's one of the really incredible things that we've been focused on probably in the past, like 2 quarters or so, is how do we bring a little more exposure and a little bit more utility to our users. So I think we're going to be diving into that a lot more in the coming year, and I think you guys are going to see some pretty cool developments.
That's so exciting. I want to keep asking about like what those developments are. So, I mean, I realize maybe you can't share everything, but like, what are some of like the tidbits that you can share?
Okay. So I think I will kind of like start from the beginning here. So our goal for the next year, we've gone through a lot of changes in this year, kind of figuring out where do we want to be in the next 5 to 10 years from now. Everything has gotten so much larger. The space has grown so quickly and exponentially that now it's time for us to really take by the horns and make some moves, right? So we've typically worked really well within our own ecosystem, within Web3, and we've got really incredible ecosystem partners. Many of them, I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably already know about, but this next year, we're going to be focusing on bringing that, like you said, like Web 2, almost like normie kind of aspect into things. So bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 has often been notably difficult for a lot of companies and Web 3 in general. So our goal, our mission is to kind of reduce, simplify as much as possible, and then find those use cases for Web 2 users to come to Web 3 and really kind of draw them in through their own interests, tapping into what they already know. So email is a really good example of that, or messaging is a really good example of that. So identity. So Shane Mack actually says this really well, the founder of XMTP, but I'm told it comes with an element of communication. You look at your phone, you text with your phone, you email people, right? On social media, you message people, you DM them. And I think that was one of the missing elements for us, is that, we didn't really have that perfect one size fits all kind of solution. So focusing on that is going to kind of help. And there's so many other companies doing it as well. Chainlink does it really, really well. Mailchain does it really well, which is another company that built off of ENS in our ecosystem. So, they're actually focused on that side of email. Skiff also does it really well. So kind of making it seem as well equipped for Web 2 users as possible, so it doesn't feel like that big of a leap. That is going to be one of our bigger focuses in the next couple of quarters, as well as kind of expanding beyond just our ecosystem and our community through different initiatives like going to the conferences that I think a lot of our community would appreciate us being at. So kind of going to things like NamesCon, where typically you might not see so much exposure for Web3 companies, but we would perfectly kind of fit into that world if they could understand, all of the developments that we've made, particularly in the last year or so, with things like Name Wrapper and things that we're working on, like gasless DNSSEC and things like that.
And with this swag that you have, like, look at the hat. That would be a total winner at these conferences.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we love doing swag at different conferences. Luke, who is one of our DevRels, he does the ENS cards that I'm sure some of your viewers have seen before. Maybe you've actually seen at conferences. So we love doing like little cute things that people can almost see as like collectibles and take with them. It's always exciting to see people at different conferences wearing their like Bogota lanyard with their Bogota card, or, you know, like things like that. This is actually a community funded project that I'm wearing right now, which has the ENS logo and stuff on it. So this is funded by the DAO. One of the working groups funds this company. So they make like all sorts of really cool ENS merch.
Nice. And like, as a contributor to a DAO, a little bit of background is like a lot of our community is builders. And I think that's probably true for most of the Web3 community at large, is like, if you're still here, you have persevered through years of almost like turmoil and like just gotten beaten down. So if you're here, you have diamond hands, you're most likely like a contributor or a builder in some regards to a protocol or a DAO. Definitely. And our community very much aligns with that. So a lot of us are contributors to general DAOs, maybe one as like maybe a full-time contributor, or part-time contributors to several DAOs. So, you know, what is your experience working with the ENS DAO? Kind of like collaborating with like this group of anonymous characters, maybe, and then like kind of collaborating across these more like cross-functional working groups.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny that you like would refer to it as anonymous. I think particularly for me, because I came from the community and I tend to know a lot of the participants, whether, you know, they're like fully doxed or not. You kind of get to know these people throughout the years. So we've seen each other go through our ups and downs, and they've seen the work that I've had to put in to get to the point that I'm at. And so it really feels more like a community than it does like a network of anons. And I think that is one of the bigger goals for ENS, is to bring that kind of facet of identity to people, whether they want to still remain undoxed or not, right? They can still have their ENS name on their Twitter account, or as their Telegram name, or whatever other, you know, socials they might use. And you know that you're talking to the same person. So that's kind of one of the bigger, just to touch on that, like, you know, mention of working with these different like groups of people. But particularly with the DAO is incredible. I'm really appreciative of the work that's gone into how the DAO was constructed to begin with, and then just speaking to the stewards and everybody that participates in the working groups and on the forum and is receiving grants from the DAO. Like, they put in an extraordinary amount of work. You think it would be easy. It's so far from easy. They have to be completely dedicated to this. There is a certain type of ethos and certain values that you need to really uphold when you're in a power position like that. And there are, you know, a lot of different factors that are coming at you at once, and kind of making that collective group decision for what is best for ENS in the long run is a really hard thing to kind of navigate, right? But my experience with working with the DAO has been extraordinary so far. It's been really incredible. They are incredibly open-minded. They have been working with us really well, all of the stewards and everything. And I think it's important also to note that like the DAO is like this huge overarching term. There are tens of thousands of participants in the ENS DAO. It really is just someone that holds an ENS token that has delegated it either to themselves or to someone else and participates in voting, right? So it isn't, it's not just like the stewards, it's also the delegates. The delegates make a massive impact. Without the delegates, there would be no DAO. Those are the people that really kind of drive everything and have to make those decisions. And they're not always easy decisions to make. So I have a ton of appreciation for them. I think they do an excellent job of really shining light on incredible projects that might otherwise not get the attention that they deserve and may not get the funding. So having that kind of tool within our own ecosystem, knowing that our community can really be a driving force towards the progress and the development long term of ENS is really impactful.
Amazing. Yeah. The mission that you talk about to like encourage this like collaborative nature amongst the DAO. I think it's something that only a few projects have been able to accomplish. There's kind of like those blue chip DAOs, if you will, that have reached that point, like that inflection point where decentralization becomes their edge.
Mm-hmm.
I think only a few DAOs have been able to get there. And it's an uphill battle for a lot of these protocols and communities that are trying to keep decentralization in mind and haven't quite hit that inflection point where they get like this inbound contribution from their community. So I think it's really cool to see like a DAO in action that has this framework in place where it's able to make sense of all these contributions, and it's not, a disorganized mess. Because you have kind of gone through the iterations to develop these working groups, these shepherds, the stewards of the community, if you will, that push these working groups and kind of combine everything in a neat and an organized way that is able to make sense of it all. I think it's something that you should be really proud of, because it's something that only a few DAOs have been able to accomplish. So it's really cool to serve as like a model for some other protocols.
Yeah, honestly, it is like rewarding in and of itself. That's, I think, I've spoken to a lot of different companies that are in the process of decentralizing. It's a really hard thing to do. There's a lot of work that needs to go into it. And once it's done, there isn't a whole lot you can go back on. So I think knowing that ENS DAO serves as kind of that like guide for a lot of other companies is really neat. And I wanted to touch on like something else that you just mentioned, the involvement, having the DAO is one thing, having the treasury and the stewards elections and all of these things that's like one whole facet of it. But having the actual engagement from people it's so difficult. It's really something that you have to strive for and you have to keep up with. So, keeping people as educated, as informed, keeping things as transparent as possible, knowing that it's all going to be open on the blockchain for everybody to see regardless is really where you start to build that trust and you start to build that engagement with people.
Yeah. And speaking about transparency, like I'm already thinking about like how the Rollup as an organization can like contribute to the DAO. And I was going to say this actually for afterwards, but I think, let's build in public. There's something that we've been talking about internally, which is this Rollup stack idea. And it's to meet users where they are. We don't have any like smart contracts really in our organization, but we're starting to make these integrations where users can kind of like come watch this educational content and then they can make sense of it like in that same place. So integrating ENS with some of this educational content natively, I think would be really, really cool. Like I'm picturing, someone could like watch this video and then right underneath they can like mint their own ENS name. And I don't know like where that, what they do with it, but trying to like just make it a slippery and easy funnel for someone to get involved, I think is something that can help ease the transition from like the Web 2 normie type of user into kind of like help shepherd them into their on-chain journey.
Definitely. And you guys already have the rollup.eth, which I see. So you're halfway there. I love when I hear, other companies and other projects kind of talking about how they can utilize ENS for their community and how they can kind of build on top of it. My mind starts racing. And I love the idea of being able to gift your community something to acknowledge their participation, So like with the name wrapper, for instance, you can give independent ENS names to all of your users through the rollup.eth. So it could be, robbie.therollup.eth or sadaf.therollup.eth. And that can be a way of token gating certain things. So I know that, we were just talking before the recording started about how you guys are going to be interacting at DevCon and what you guys plan, or DevConnect, and what you guys plan on participating in. And having that even is kind of a cool way, or maybe even the people that you interview, you give them an ENS name, and it becomes this one large community where, people could even like hyperlink it and have their interview right on that name. There's like a plethora of things that you can kind of do with ENS, which is why it genuinely excites me so much,
Yeah, so cool. Like it just helps. It like helps to realize the vision that Ethereum has of like this like world supercomputer. And I think like ENS is helping to develop the internet on top of that supercomputer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well
really,
said.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk at length about like some more of these applications and then some other initiatives, but I think this has been a really, really fun and healthy conversation. So thanks for coming on. Is there anything else you'd like to share about ENS or about yourself, and especially like where people can find you? But aside from that, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I would love for our listeners and the community and everybody that watches the Rollup to know that ENS has some really neat things in store for 2024. So please do check it out. Keep tuned. You can follow us on ENS domains on Twitter, and you can keep up with what's going on the marketing side as well. And yeah, we've got some pretty cool things in store for the next couple of quarters. We have a lot of different product releases coming up, so it should be really exciting. And yeah, please watch the Rollup. You're doing a great job. Thanks for being a community builder and doing your public good stuff.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, everyone check out ENS and go buy your friends and family an ENS for Christmas. They'll definitely appreciate it.
It's the best way to show your love. Yeah.